Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be talking about AI.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
And it's shaping our future right now as we speak.
Absolutely. And it's not just science fiction anymore either.
No, it's real world stuff.
Real world concerns with real world consequences, yeah.
So we've got a lot of sources to dive into,
Yeah.
studies, reports, even some legal battles brewing.
All sorts of things.
We want to explore some big questions today.
Yeah, what are some of those?
Like, how do we make sure that AI reflects the best of humanity
That's a good question.
and not the worst of humanity?
Right, because it really is like a mirror.
Yeah.
It reflects our values back at us.
Okay, so let's jump into one of these sources then.
Okay.
There's a study in Nature about how AI is being used in legal systems.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? It's actually perpetuating racial bias.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
AI inheriting and amplifying the biases that already exist in our society.
It's like
It's tough.
garbage and garbage out.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, if the AI system is trained on data,
Yeah.
that reflects historical inequalities like disproportionate arrest rates for certain groups.
I see what you mean.
It's going to learn and repeat those patterns.
That's a huge problem.
It is.
So how do we make sure that AI used in something like the justice system
Yeah,
is actually promoting fairness
right.
and not making things worse?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we can't just assume AI will be objective and impartial.
Right.
We need to really scrutinize that data. It's trained on identify potential biases, build in safeguards
Yeah.
to promote justice.
It's like we're trying to teach a machine about right and wrong using a textbook that's full of outdated and prejudiced information.
Right.
No wonder it's getting things wrong.
Yeah, and this issue extends far beyond the legal system, too.
Oh, really?
Think about facial recognition technology.
Yeah.
It's becoming more common, but it's also sparking a lot of debate.
Well, I mean, yeah, you see cities trying to ban it over privacy concerns,
Right.
and then others are saying it's essential for public safety.
Sure.
So it's tricky?
It really is a tricky situation.
Yeah.
You know, on the one hand,
Yeah.
facial recognition can be a really powerful tool for finding criminals, finding missing persons, preventing terrorist attacks.
So it could make us safer.
Potentially, yes, but on the other hand, it raises serious concerns about privacy,
Yeah.
potential for misuse by authorities,
Uh-huh.
and even a chilling effect on free speech and assembly.
Chilling effect. I'm not sure I follow.
So imagine living in a city where cameras are constantly scanning your face,
Okay.
tracking your every move,
Yeah.
and potentially flagging you as a threat based on an algorithm you don't understand.
Oh, wow.
People might be hesitant to express themselves freely,
I see what you mean.
participate in protests for fear of being monitored or targeted.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that then?
Right.
Security and personal freedom.
Well, it requires a really nuanced approach, thinking carefully about the potential benefits and risks,
Yeah.
clear regulations, ongoing dialogue about the values we want to uphold as a society.
It all comes back to values, doesn't it?
It really does.
Like, do we prioritize safety over privacy?
Yeah.
Efficiency over human connection?
Those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Because these choices are going to shape the future.
They really will shape the future of AI.
And ultimately the future of humanity itself.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the ethics of AI.
Yeah.
And it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
But there's another level to this conversation that I find fascinating and honestly a bit terrifying.
Okay.
Artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Ah, yes, AGI. That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, and complicated.
And complicated, for sure.
For those who aren't familiar, we're talking about machines that can think like humans,
Right.
solve problems like humans,
Uh-huh.
maybe even have feelings like humans.
It's been a concept that's captured our imaginations for a long time.
It is.
And now with the rapid advancements in AI,
Yeah.
it's not just a philosophical thought experiment anymore. It's a tangible possibility.
So is it just around the corner?
Yeah.
Or is it still science fiction?
Right.
And if machines do become as smart as humans,
Yeah.
what happens to us?
What happens to us, right?
Do we merge with them?
Do they take over?
Yeah, do they take over?
These are the questions that keep scientists, philosophers, and policymakers up at night.
They do.
To explore these questions, we need to understand the different perspectives on AGI.
Because not everyone agrees on what it will look like or what it will mean for humanity.
Exactly. You have thinkers like Ray Kurzweil,
Okay.
a prominent futurist who believe that AGI is inevitable
Uh-huh.
and will usher in a new era of unprecedented progress and prosperity.
The singularity, right?
The singularity,
That's
exactly.
what we call it.
Where technology is exploding so rapidly, it fundamentally changes human civilization.
Wow.
Kurzweil and other techno-optimists believe that AGI will solve our biggest problems.
Like what?
From climate change to poverty, and even lead to radical life extension.
So that sounds pretty utopian.
It does.
But I've also heard from people like Max Tegmark,
Sure.
a physicist and AI researcher,
Yeah.
who are a bit more cautious.
They are a little more cautious. Tegmark, along with many other AI experts, cautions us to think about the potential risks
Okay.
of creating a superintelligence that we don't fully understand and can't control.
So we've got the optimists who see it as our salvation,
Right.
and the pessimists who fear it could be our downfall.
Right.
I'm sensing a theme here.
What's that?
With AI, it's not just the technology itself,
Uh-huh.
it's how we use it,
Right.
how we control it,
How we control it, yeah.
and what values we embed in it.
It all comes back to those values.
It does.
And that brings us to a really crucial point.
Okay.
The development of AGI isn't just happening in some isolated lab.
Yeah.
It's happening within this complex web of political and economic interests.
So it's not just about scientists tinkering away.
No, it's not.
It's about who controls the technology.
It is about who controls the technology, yeah.
And how they choose to use it.
Exactly. And one of the most striking examples of this is the EU's proposed AI Act.
The EU's trying to regulate AI.
They are.
Isn't that going to stifle innovation?
Well, that's the argument you hear from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
They're pushing back hard against these regulations,
Right.
claiming they'll slow down progress,
Uh-huh.
give an advantage to countries like China,
I see.
which have a more hands-off approach.
Okay.
But the EU is arguing that regulation is essential
Okay.
to ensure AI is developed and used ethically and responsibly.
So it's a clash of values, really.
It is.
Do we prioritize rapid technological advancement, or do we put guardrails in place
Right.
to ensure that it doesn't become a threat?
It's a debate that's only going to intensify in the years to come.
Yeah.
And its outcome will have profound implications for all of us.
This AI Act sounds like a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal.
Can we dive into the specifics a bit more?
Absolutely.
Like, what exactly is the EU trying to regulate?
Yeah.
And what are the potential consequences?
That's a great question. Well, it's pretty ambitious,
Yeah.
It aims to classify AI systems based on their risk levels.
Okay.
With stricter regulations for systems that are deemed high risk.
So not all AI is treated the same.
No, they're taking a risk-based approach.
I see.
For instance, AI used in critical infrastructure
Okay.
or law enforcement, healthcare would face more scrutiny than, say, an AI-powered spam filter.
That makes sense, but how do they define high risk?
Well, they're looking at a few different things.
Okay.
Like the potential for harm,
Uh-huh.
the irreversibility of the AI's decisions,
Okay.
and the impact on fundamental rights.
Like privacy and free speech.
Exactly.
So if an AI system could potentially cause harm,
Yeah.
make decisions that can't be undone,
Uh-huh.
or infringe on people's basic rights,
Right.
then it would be high risk.
Exactly. And for these high-risk systems,
Yeah.
the AI Act proposes a bunch of requirements.
Like what?
Things like rigorous testing,
Yeah.
data quality standards,
Uh-huh.
human oversight mechanisms,
Okay.
and even mandatory registration in an EU database.
Wow, so they're really trying to put some guardrails in place.
They are, but this raises concerns about stifling innovation.
That's what I was thinking.
Some experts worry that too much regulation
Yeah.
could create all sorts of bureaucratic hurdles,
Yeah.
slow down development, make it hard for European companies to compete.
Especially with places like China racing ahead with AI.
That's right. China has a more hands-off approach,
Yeah.
leading to rapid advancement.
Uh-huh.
But it also raises concerns about misuse,
I see your point.
for things like surveillance and social control.
So it's a tough balance.
It is.
Too much regulation and we risk falling behind.
Right.
Too little and we risk a whole lot of other things.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between innovation and public interest.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest challenges with AI.
We're navigating uncharted waters here.
We are.
No one has all the answers.
Right.
But we're figuring it out as we go.
And this leads us to another area of AI,
Okay.
autonomous weapons.
Ah, yes, the killer robots.
Can't talk about AI without mentioning those.
Yeah, it's got to come up.
LAWS,
LAWS.
lethal autonomous weapon systems,
Okay.
are one of the most hotly debated topics in AI,
Really?
in ethics and international security.
And the UN is trying to decide whether to ban them completely?
There have been discussions at the UN for years.
I mean, it seems like banning killer robots should be a no-brainer.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah, so why is it even a debate?
Well, it's more complicated than it seems.
Okay.
The people who support autonomous weapons,
Uh-huh.
they argue that they could make warfare safer.
Safer. How?
Their argument is that AI-controlled weapons
Uh-huh.
can be programmed to follow the rules of war
Okay.
more strictly than human soldiers,
I guess that makes sense.
who are prone to emotions,
Right.
fear, anger, revenge.
So you're saying robots are more ethical than humans?
It's a controversial claim.
It is.
But critics say even the smartest AI can malfunction,
Yeah.
misinterpret data, be hacked,
Uh-huh.
which could lead to unintended consequences.
Like civilian casualties.
Exactly. And then there's the issue's accountability.
Right. If a robot kills someone, who's to blame?
Right. Who's responsible? The programmer, the manufacturer.
It's a tough question.
Opponents of these weapons say they create an accountability gap.
I see.
It's difficult to assign blame and ensure justice for victims.
It's a mess.
It is a moral and legal quagmire, for sure.
So we've got biased algorithms.
We do.
Killer robots.
Uh-huh.
The potential for superintelligence to outsmart us.
Right.
Is there any good news with AI?
There is.
Really?
AI has the potential to revolutionize a lot of fields.
Like what?
Healthcare, education, environmental conservation.
But even in those areas, there are ethical concerns.
There are.
Okay, give me an example. I need some good news.
Okay. Take healthcare. AI diagnostic tools are being used to detect diseases like cancer earlier and more accurately.
So early detection saves lives.
Exactly. But studies have shown that these tools can be unreliable sometimes.
Oh, no.
Especially in areas with a shortage of human doctors.
So we still need humans in the loop.
We do. It's about finding that balance between AI and human intelligence.
Yeah.
AI should augment our capabilities, not replace them.
And that brings us to another big question.
What's that?
The future of work.
Yeah.
Will AI take our jobs?
That's a question that's causing a lot of anxiety.
It is.
And the answer, like with most things, AI is nuanced.
So not a simple yes or no?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The World Economic Forum predicts that AI will displace jobs in manufacturing, transportation, customer service.
Makes sense.
But it also predicts that AI will create new jobs. Jobs we can't even imagine yet.
Like what?
Who knows, AI, ethicist, robot therapist? We're on the cusp of a revolution.
Yeah.
It's impossible to predict the future of work.
That's true.
But one thing's for sure.
Okay.
The jobs most likely to be automated are those with repetitive tasks, data processing predictable patterns.
So if I'm not a coder, what does that mean for me?
It means we need to be adaptable, embrace lifelong learning, and focus on uniquely human skills.
Like creativity.
Exactly.
Critical thinking, empathy.
That's right. AI can't easily replicate those.
And we need to think about how we design our social and economic systems.
We do.
To ensure that everyone benefits from AI.
Yes, and that everyone has a chance to thrive in this new world of work.
It feels like we're at a turning point.
We are.
AI is changing the world fast.
Very fast.
And it's raising these huge questions.
It is.
About our values, our ethics.
Ethics, yeah.
And our future as a species.
It's an exciting and challenging time to be alive.
It is.
And the choices we make today will determine what kind of future we create.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have, from biased algorithms to killer robots, the future of work, AGI.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I think the main takeaway for me is that it all comes back to this question of what kind of future we want to build with AI.
That's right, because ultimately AI isn't some force acting upon us.
Yeah.
It's a tool we're creating.
Right. We have the power to shape it.
We do. We have the power to shape its development and its impact on the world.
So we're not just passive bystanders.
We're not. We have choices to make.
And those choices matter.
They do. They'll have a ripple effect for generations.
So how do we make sure those choices are wise ones?
That's a tough question.
It is.
But I think there are some core values we need to keep in mind.
Like what? Give me the cheat sheet.
Okay, well, first and foremost, we need to put human well-being first.
That seems obvious.
It does, but AI should be used to improve our lives.
Not harm us.
Exactly.
Or exploit us.
Right, and that's why we need to talk about the potential risks. Involve diverse perspectives. And set ethical guidelines.
So human well-being is number one.
It is.
What else?
Transparency is really important.
Okay.
We need to understand how AI systems work.
Yeah.
How decisions are being made.
How they're reaching conclusions.
Exactly. And who's accountable.
Especially when those decisions affect our lives in big ways.
Yes, like loans or security risks.
We can't just blindly trust algorithms.
No, we need to be able to understand them.
So human well-being transparency. It's about making sure AI serves humanity.
Yes, not the other way around.
Okay, so what else should we be thinking about?
Fairness and justice are crucial.
Right.
AI should be equitable and unbiased.
We talked about that study about AI in the legal system.
Yeah, that was a good example.
Perpetuating racial bias.
It shows why fairness is so important.
And it's not just about race either, right?
No, it's about all forms of discrimination.
Gender, disability.
All of it. AI should promote equality, not make things worse.
Okay, so we've got human well-being, transparency, fairness.
Uh-huh.
It's a good start.
There's one more.
Okay, what is it?
human control.
Human control, okay.
We have to make sure AI stays under our control.
You mean like not creating a Frankenstein's monster we can't control?
Exactly. We don't want AI to become too powerful, too autonomous, or go against our interests.
It's covered so much.
We have. It's a lot.
But it's clear that AI is making us ask some big questions.
It is.
About who we are, what we value, what kind of future we want.
And these aren't just abstract questions.
No, they have real-world consequences.
They do, and they'll affect all of us.
So what can our listeners do to get involved?
That's a great question, and the answer is pretty simple. Get involved.
Okay.
Learn about AI, talk to your friends and family.
And have those dinner table conversations.
Exactly. Debate the ethics of facial recognition over coffee.
Start a book club about the singularity.
Right. The more we talk about these things, the better.
Because it all comes back to this idea that AI is a reflection of us.
It is.
It's a product of our values.
And it's up to us to ensure it reflects the best of us.
Well said. The future of AI is up to us.
It is.
Let's make it a future we can be proud of. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you learned something.
I hope so.
Stay curious, stay engaged.
And keep those AI conversations going.
The future is what we make it.
It is.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.